everybody one thing. You can receive two announcements about this workshop today, one through undergrad and one through the Eller First Semester Toolkit on Blackboard. Did everybody get the second one on Toolkit? Here's the question. Do you all, on your Blackboard sites, do you have access to this Eller First Semester Toolkit? Yes? Anybody who does not have access to that? Okay. If you don't, while we're talking here over the next few minutes, you discover that you don't see that on your Blackboard site, then when we start the library research portion of this, we're going to ask you to come down here and have somebody add you to that site. You just have to bring your username now, okay? But as long as you're good to go, if you have this here, then we can go ahead and get started. All right, that was just a little announcement. Let's go ahead and start. So I want to welcome you guys today because this is kind of an exciting beginning of a semester. I want to congratulate you on your admission to Eller. It's not everybody that gets in. It's not an easy road to hoe over the next semester. We're going to keep you real busy. You're going to learn a lot of new things, and you're going to be stretched beyond what you can anticipate right now as possible. We're also going to take you out of your comfort zone quite a bit. There's a saying that says that you can enlarge your comfort zone by stepping out of it. And so we're going to have you step out of your comfort zone in a lot of ways this semester so that you feel more confident to handle any situation that might come your way. So today we're going to talk about kind of the way that we've organized teams and assignments for this first semester. We'll also introduce you to some of the faculty members that you're going to be seeing over the next 16 weeks. Okay. So one of the things what we're going to talk about is your teams. You're going to have a lot of teamwork over the next semester, and 3 of your classes we have coordinated to put you on the same team for those 3 classes. You're going to see why that's important and why that will be beneficial to you as we go through here. But we wanted to explain it to you so that you didn't get confused moving into the classes and that you understood that even though you're on the same team, you're going to have different assignments in every class. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's first want to introduce some of the faculty that are here. BCom faculty, this is your business communication class. I'm Sherry Boyer. I will see some of you in my classes starting tomorrow morning. We also have 2 others that are here representing BCom today. The others were here for the morning session. This is Michael Mandel and Cheryl Broderson. So you may see one of your faculty members there. But if not, don't worry, they'll be there tomorrow. Okay. We also have your marketing professor, Vic Piscatello.
I'm standing. That's me being tall.
And your management professor, Oliver Schilke.
Hi there.
Okay. And you'll hear a little bit more from them as we go through the session today. All right, so what we are doing is we are, as I said, I'm going to get through our agendas here, talk to you about how this is all going to work. You're going to be on the same team, studying the same company or organization, depending on whether you're in corporate communication BCom or consulting track BCom. If it's consulting, it's more of a nonprofit organization. If it's corporate communication, it's going to be a major publicly traded company. You're going to have 3 distinct projects and different deliverables or assignments in each of the 3 classes. However, the company will be the same, and the research material that you gather can be used across the courses. This is going to save you a lot of time and effort. Okay. Your teams will be announced in your BCom classes. Some of them as early as next Wednesday, but by next Friday you will know the teams that you're going to be in. In some of your classes you'll have more of a part in the process of selecting the teams. In others we're gathering information from you the first day of class and then trying to develop well-rounded teams for you to work on throughout the semester. But you'll learn your teams through BCom. If you're not in BCom class, how many of you are not in a business communication this semester? Maybe you already took it. Okay, so you'll need to talk to your marketing and or management professor and see about how they want to handle teamwork or what team they want to put you on. Okay. Other than that, you'll see your teams in BCom. You'll see. Okay, so you're going to be with the same team for the entire semester. So maybe you'll get sick of each other, but pretty much what we've discovered is that you become tight friends. You spend a lot of time together studying, planning, presenting, working through difficulties and issues, and in the end, shining at the end, at our case competition at the end, and in some of your final course projects. On your team, you're going to choose one company, or as I said, organization if you're in the consulting track. And that one company is what you're going to be digging in, doing research on, and providing some kind of insight and possibly some recommendations too as you move through the semester. It has to be, if you are in the corporate communication, start thinking about this. You're going to have to choose a US-based company that's publicly traded. That may sound like, oh, it's just something that the teachers, some requirement that we put on there just for the heck of it, but we know that you're going to be able to find the most information for your projects if it's a publicly traded U.S. company. And so we want you to choose one that is. The other requirement for management is that your professor would like you to have somebody on your team that has a contact person, if possible, in that company. So think about people that you know that are already out in the professional world, maybe at a company that's locally based. And if you know somebody in management or even, well, I guess in any position at this point, that can answer some questions, you're going to be asked to interview somebody from the company at some point along the way. So these are the prerequisites just to get you started thinking about what company you might want to select. Okay? It should be a company that will hold your interest and will motivate you to do well throughout the semester as well. So think about that. Your team is going to have a chance to select that company, though, over the next week and a half. Okay. All right, so the way that this works is the same student team is going to be together for your work in BCom 314, Management 310, and Marketing 361. But each course has different deliverables, different projects, different requirements, different guidelines for the things that they want you to do. So it's not just do one paper for BCom and then submit it to management the next week for their assignment. That's not going to cut it because they're very, very different and distinct deliverables and assignments, but the company remains the same. Does that make sense? Okay. So we're going to take just a minute to give you a brief, just 3-minute overview of the 3 courses so that you can see kind of maybe how they blend, how they differ, and how they complement one another. I'm going to say a little bit about BCom first, and then we'll invite Vic and Oliver up to talk about management and marketing. So business communication, our goal, our objective is to get you work ready, workplace ready. One of the things that our recruiters say time and time again is the reason that they like to recruit from Eller is the communication skills, the soft skills, the ability to present ideas and to think critically through a problem and solve it. So in business communication, we're going to give you lots of both instruction, experience, and coaching in business writing, in business presentations, in teamwork, in all the things that are required both in your classes here at Eller and that will be required in internships and jobs in the future. So we hope that our objective is to get you ready to stand out among the hundreds of applicants that might be applying for your dream job. And soft skills, communication skills are something that employers and recruiters look for. So that's our objective. And I think over the course of the semester, you're going to be surprised at how much more comfortable you get in communicating and how much more confidence you'll have. All right, so that's business communication. I'm going to invite, who's first? Oliver, you want to come up and talk about your management class very briefly.
All right, so hi, my name is Oliver Schulke. I'm going to introduce myself in more detail a little bit after when we have more time to talk about this course. But right now I just want to spend a few minutes to give you an idea of what management even is. I imagine that for most of you this is the first time you're taking a management or OB class, right? See some nodding, yeah. Right, so the legitimate question is to ask, what is management? And if you look at how a lot of people would think about organizations, you can't really see management right away, right? A lot of people think of organizations as consisting of departments such as operations, marketing, finance, IT, and R&D. But where is the management in there? Well, I can tell you, there's management everywhere in organizations if you think about it in more detail. For example, one thing is the general management that sits on top of these functions. People like the CEO and the CFO who determine the strategy of the organizations. These people do management all the time. Strategy is part of management. Another part of management is the board of directors. The guys who get elected by the shareholders to kind of make sure that the general management isn't messing around. These people who kind of govern the organization, they are part of management. Then there are some functional departments that are actually management. There's, for example, a lot of organizations that have a business development department. And so people who kind of look at how the organization can develop and change in the future and how the organizational design needs to be adjusted accordingly. Then there's also obviously an HR department, human resources, the guys who hire people, manage them, and motivate them in the end. That's also part of management. Another management function that we're going to talk about in this course is cross-functional integration. How do we deal with conflicts and align the goals of the different departments? This is another management objective. Finally, in each of these functions, people need to determine how to lead the team and the entire department, how to make teamwork, how to get that done within the department. So that's part of management. So as you can see, if you think about organizations in more detail, management is really everywhere and a really important topic. And I'm looking forward to talking more with you guys about all these topics in this class.
Thanks, Oliver. Vic, come on up.
Thanks. As you can see, we've all worked together quite a bit. And so while this project may be new to you guys, we've done it, interchangeably now for many years. As a matter of fact, I just counted, and this is my 33rd time that I've kicked off a semester. Okay, so 16 years. But I have to remember that although I've said it multiple times, you haven't heard it multiple times. So that's something that you'll have to press me on. Okay, so I didn't see a sign of hands for who's an accounting major in here? Perfect. How many accounts do you need if no revenue's coming in? You got it. Okay. Who's a management major? Perfect. How many managers do you need if marketing's doing a terrible job and no money's coming in? I'm going to say it. I'll call you Donald Trump now because you're going to go into bankruptcy even faster than he has. Okay? So I'm Vic Piscatello, and I'll be working on with you guys in Marketing 361. Okay? And my colleagues are 100% right. We have these classes in silos, SBUs, strategic business units, right? And we think that, oh, they're all separate. But can you be a marketing manager? Really? Because I made a hell of a lot of money doing that. So you don't think there's a manager in a marketing department?
Oh, yeah, there is.
Do you think there's a manager in an accounting department?
Yeah.
Okay, so very broad, generic terms when we talk about marketing and management and so forth. Okay, so what I'll be doing, and I'll be coming back later, and I'll be going through my class and so forth. And this project's exciting because you have the one project, but you get to apply it, the deliverables, to 3 different managers, so to speak. Myself for marketing, Dr. Schilke for management, and your cohort people for all the business communication. So it's very much real world, and that's what we're trying to replicate. So I'll be back in a few minutes when it's my turn to chat, and think about that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so now you've at least met us and seen a little bit about an overview of the classes that you'll be taking. Some of the things that we want to talk about, though, are the benefits that this provides you with this structure, okay? So by working together on a team for the semester, you'll be earning your management, marketing, and business communication credit, all in kind of one fell swoop here. But it's not that easy. It'll be very difficult. You're going to be gaining real-world business knowledge and experience. You'll be working with a real company, researching its issues, and trying to help either resolve or implement action. Okay. The key thing, the last 2 things are real key for the benefits to you. You'll be able to utilize the same pool of information. In a little while, we're going to be talking about research. I know if you thought you went to business college, you wouldn't have to research so much. It's not really one of these subjects that you would think about doing in-depth research and writing thesis statements for. But business research is very different. It's very active, and we'll talk about why you research for business in a little bit, in a few minutes. But in this situation, you're going to be using the same pool of information that you have on that one company to do all of the assignments in 3 different classes. That's going to save you a lot of time. Imagine having to do research on maybe 3 different companies, different projects. That's what we used to do in the past. But we've made it easier on you by kind of bringing it
When
all
we walk
together.
uphill both ways in the snow. Just want to make sure.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You've got it easy. The last part that is a benefit to you is the scheduling. Scheduling is going to be a nightmare this first semester because you're going to be on a team with 4 or 5 other people that maybe how many of you have jobs besides going to school? All right, so then you have to consider your work schedule. How many of you have kids? Usually we have a few families with kids, a few. So even that is something you have to consider in scheduling meetings. You have to schedule time with your team over the semester, and not just once a week to kind of talk about the 3 classes. You're going to have scheduled meetings every week for each class, and at some point in the semester, more than 1, 2 or 3 meetings a week to get ready for the presentations and things like that you'll be working on. So having one team to do that with is a lot easier than having 3 different teams to try to coordinate that with. Okay. So you'll be learning a lot this semester about how to reach out and understand your audience, both in writing and in presentations. This is just an example of how we want you to know that we're not just making decisions based on what we think is cool, but we're making decisions based on what we believe is best for you. And let us know how we're doing. We make changes every semester, to make it a little bit more effective, a little bit more meaningful and productive for you. So, all right, business research. So you can think back at the research that you've done in your other classes, comp classes, history classes, whatever else you might have done for the last 2 years here. And did the research papers that you wrote, actually get sent in to be published? Did they make a difference in the field that you were studying? Okay, so maybe they will. And if you went into another field and you did research like that in medicine, I know I have a few students in my class who have minors in the medical field, and so your research may count someday. You might find a cure for a disease. But a lot of time the research that you do in college in your first 2 years is just to kind of get you used to it, get you used to expressing your opinion, making sure that you understood the content, things like that. In business, research is necessary for change, for action, for decision making, so many different things. So I want to look at a few reasons that we do business research. We do it to understand the company's position in the industry. Where is this company as opposed, in relationship to all of the other companies that are our competitors? What is our market share? Are we doing better or worse? Where are we in the industry? We also need to do research to understand and to know our competitors. What are they doing? What are they doing well? What are they doing poorly? And what can we learn from that? So we do research to know our competitors. We do it to identify corporate issues, problems that are going on in the company, and or maybe to find opportunities that we're not taking advantage of just yet. So you can't just say, well, that sounds cool, let's do that. You need to research it and see if it's really worthwhile. And so this is business research. You need to find relevant consumer and marketing trends. You can use those in your marketing class. Analyze internal practices. That would be something that's very important in management. Are we functioning effectively, or is there something that we can do to improve internal practices, policies, and increase morale? Respond to external risks. What's going on out there? And what can we do to protect ourselves and to come out stronger on the other side? Utilize information and data for making company decisions. No company is considered smart or reputable if they just make decisions off the top of their head and don't first research both the people involved and other companies that have done something similar. What's going to happen if we do this? And then finally, how many of you have that entrepreneur spirit? Are you in the Enviro Entrepreneurship Program? Okay, so do you ever watch Shark Tank? what would you think, what would the Sharks think if the guys just came in and said, well, we just made this and we think it's really cute. You want to invest $100,000? They have to come with some kind of research, some proof that it's needed, there's a need there, some proof that this is going to make some money. All of that requires research. And so business research is much different than what you've done before. It's very practical. And the research databases that we're going to show you in a little bit are coveted by major companies around the world and here in the U.S. Some of the databases and the resources that you're going to hear about cost thousands and thousands of dollars per company. You get some access to them right now to learn how to do competent business research. So the library workshop is coming up. What we're going to do is we're going to teach you some places where you can find high quality resources for your research that you're going to use on all your major reports, presentations, and projects this semester throughout Miller while you're here. We've partnered to bring you a tailored set, and just Jason's going to tell you about that in just a few minutes. And it's all housed in the Eller first semester toolkit. And as I already said, these are highly valuable and coveted resources that you have access to that you'll be able to use. Let me just throw this in. When you're going out for interviews for internships or for jobs, and you talk about some of the research projects that you did in school, you can drop a few names. Oh yeah, we used Ibis World, we did this. That's going to impress your future employers. They're going to think, wow, you really do know how to find the information that we can use and that we can act on. So, I'd like to introduce your best friend for the semester as far as knowing how to find this information. Jason Doolin works for the University Library, and he'll tell you a little bit more about himself as he moves into this. So, are you ready to learn a little bit about how to find information that you're going to need? This is a really important day and a good starting point.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the high point of your social calendar this year. Your talk with the business library. That was a joke, so feel free to laugh. All right, let me see if I can find, here it is, the first semester toolkit, right? Everyone's there, so if you have a computer or an iDoohickey, pull it up, go into Blackboard. We're going to try to write everything from there today. So the big thing, I'm going to ask a series of very difficult questions today. If you get it wrong, everyone will point and laugh. And you'll walk across campus, people will continue to point and laugh, and your parents won't love you.
And you'll get a minivan for graduation.
And a minivan, yes. So if we look here, this is your business research library tools tab, okay? So this browser is a little bit odd. So as you look around, I'm going to turn it on to your view. There we go. So as you look around, you're doing you're starting your research. You know, today in my very exciting presentation, you fall asleep, drool on your keyboard, and miss everything I say. What can you do to get help with your research? Any thoughts? Go to the library, yes, but there's a hint up here. Yes, ask the librarian, right there, see that? Ask the librarian. You know, the important thing, sure, we're really smart, intelligent, witty, fun-loving, but don't be intimidated by that. We're almost like you. Okay, here we are. This is Cheryl. We share the same office in the main library. And it's an interesting thing. We talk about research. The heaviest used research databases, aside from the big, broad, general ones, a lot of them are the business databases. They get used a ton. And the people that show up at the library the most, especially after hours, are business students. So you must love to do research. So congratulations. You're going to get to spend some time in the library. We're excited to have you. Here I am. If you notice, we're connected here. We have email and telephones, right? And so that's a modern technology. You can email or call if you have questions. One of the best things you can do is to email, right? And the nice thing about email is I notice it more. Whatever reason, my phone sometimes doesn't ring, I don't like to talk on the phone, etc. I might be busy, right? But if you send me an email, I'm probably going to respond. Couple things. Anyone ever hear of Asana, right? It's a project management thing, right? And so what I do is my tasks for the day, I just, literally when I receive your question, I forward it on to Asana, and if it has a due date on it, if you give me a due date, then it falls into line. Hey, I need this information by, it's due on Friday, I need it by Tuesday, right? And then I can work with you. If you say I need it in the next 30 minutes, there's a good chance I won't be able to help you, but at least I won't spend a lot of time working on it when the deadline's passed or whatever, okay? So give me a date, right? Give me a date when you need this information by. If it's getting close to the due date and you haven't heard from me, feel free to send a reminder. It's not bad. Remind me, Sometimes I might miss an email, right? So remind me, send an email. Be descriptive, please. Don't say, I need information on an industry. It would be helpful what type of information, market size, competitors, let me know where you looked, etc. And the same thing is true for Cheryl, who can't be here today. But here we are, so make sure you ask us, okay? The next thing we're going to look at is our library website. So I know most of you, this is your home page for your landing page for your browsers, but if it's not, the rest of you can make it today. It's just at library.arizona.edu. The one thing I want to emphasize the whole day is our search interface and our discovery is, I love Google. If Sergey calls me up, I'm leaving, I'm going to go work for Google. And never talk to you again. But until then, so when I make fun of Google, I make fun of it with love. Okay? So Google, stalks you, right? They track, they put cookies on, they track what websites you go to. They know what you did last summer. If you put something embarrassing in an email, you'll see various ads pop up to the right? Because they are tracking you. At least with Google, you get an enhanced search experience. It gets to know you and helps you find things quicker. Whereas Facebook, they just stalk you, and then your exes stalk you, and there's no real benefit from it, right? So, but with Google, you get a benefit. But with us, we don't stalk you. So what that means is you have to guide your search more. You have to look around. All our search interfaces are much clunkier. Our website, we would love to have just a plain old Google website, enter text here and all of your dreams and research comes true, right? But instead you have to look here and see what's available. So if you just want to search, Summit is the closest thing we have to Google. It's not nearly as good, right? The great thing about us, though, is we have great content. IBISWorld, the reports that you pull, or if you're out there working, it's $1,000 a report. BCC Research, Frost and Sullivan. If you pull those reports, they're on average probably around $5,000 for a report. Okay, so when you go off, and my friend worked up in Montana Medical Systems, and when she would pull a report, they would routinely spend $5,000 for a report. Okay, so while you're in college, you get to use it. As academic. So it's one of those things where it might be a little easier to find it in Google, but then you'll have to pay for it. You go through us, you paid for this fine education, and we're throwing in the research for free. Okay, look around, see here we have the catalog if you just want to search for old-fashioned books. Anyone know what a book is? Databases, if you're looking for a particular subject, if you don't have a favorite database, you can just go down and we look here, here's business. And if we scroll down, these are all the business databases that we have. And the one thing you're going to notice in this list, even if you put them all end to end, there's much fewer databases in here, because we try to tailor the databases to your research for this particular semester. So after this semester, it's interesting that this Blackboard page gets used a ton, even after this semester. I noticed that people who finish up the semester come back to this because it's a handy-dandy quick research guide, right? But you know, as you move on, you might have to branch out a little bit more, and maybe all the databases we have here won't be enough. But for this semester, I think we've got a pretty good grip on it. You know, nothing's guaranteed. But if you look here, if you look at the library, we actually have over 700 databases that we provide. And so across all resources. I don't know how much we have in business databases, but it's a bunch. And we've added a bunch in the last few years. The other thing, if anyone here like to read the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, anyone? Good. So, are you cheap like me and you don't pay for the subscription? Right, good. So after a while, you run up against the paywall and you go to Wall Street Journal and they have a lock on it, right? But if you click here on journals, look here, here's some of our favorite titles that we all like to read, like Time, Science, Nature, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and of course the Chronicle of Higher Education. Who doesn't read that? So what you can do is, excuse me, the Wall Street Journal. If I come in here and I select this, once again, we do try to make this a little difficult. It would be too easy just to send you to the right place. We don't do that. But here, if you just click here, full text available, the Wall Street Journal is going to pop up, right? And then you can just search for the title, or you can come down if you want to. It's not as good looking, right, as the Wall Street Journal. You don't get the pretty pictures, which I like. But here we can come on January 13th, you know, and there's 191 items, all full text, and so you can get to the information you need without spending the money. Okay? Real? All right. Great. Let's see here. Was there anything else I wanted to tell you about this databases catalog? All right, and there's more, lots of cool stuff, but there we are. Oh yeah, there is one thing. We host, this will be the second time we've hosted this. There's a group called Innovate UA and Entrepreneurship. And we're hosting, once again, Science and Engineering Library, a hackathon. You get fed for the weekend, you come in, companies like, I think, Raytheon is one of the big sponsors into it. Last year, Wolfram Alpha was there. All sorts of, I think Google was there too. And so you go there, we shut down the library, and you and 800 of your closest friends can spend the weekend building stuff, eating for free. There will be over 9,000 cans of Red Bull there. So, I kid you not, there was 6,000 last year, and they went through them all. It was amazing. But it's a fun little event if you want to spend the weekend. Who knows, you might get a job, right? Always a bonus. ASU is bringing 250 people this year. So right now, they have the most people signed up of any school. So don't let them beat us. All right, so as we go down, let me see here. Oh yeah, so I'm going to come down here and we're going to talk a little bit about, this is once again another very difficult, I'm not going to ask you tough questions. So we're going to talk about industry, company, and brands, right? So a lot of these kind of get tossed around and can be sometimes somewhat confusing. So you have an industry, right? That's where the competition that takes place at, within an industry. And you have the automobile industry, right? And I'm from Michigan originally, and you know, I worked in the automotive industry for a long time, back when we had one. And so this is an industry near and dear to me. You know, you have two companies, which are Ford and General Motors, and each of those companies have multiple brands. So Ford has the brand Ford, and the other brand Lincoln. Here you have Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, GMC are all brands of General Motors. Those brands compete, right, for market share within an industry. And that's how you do battle, okay? So now, once again, more tough questions. Are you guys ready? So I'm going to throw up, you have to tell me if it's an industry, brand, or company, okay? Remember, yell it out, right? And let's see how we do. Okay, ready, set? Footwear manufacturer, brand, company, or industry? Wow, you guys, not only are you good looking, you're smart. All right, let's go to the next one. Brand, Sprite, in the soft drink industry, right? I believe soft drink, something like that. Southwest. Company and brand, right? They're all rolled into one. Okay, very good. So now we've gotten past that. Okay, so let me see here. I've done this a ton, but I still need my notes. I forget. Every year I forget stuff. So, once again, so here we are. Is everyone in this? Let's take a look and walk around the blackboard together as one big happy family.
Does everybody have access to this? You don't?
Okay, someone will help you out, will give you access. If you don't have access as we go through this, feel free to lean over to your partner. Cheating is encouraged in this class only. No, it's working together, we call it, okay? So, anyways, if we go down, you're going to need to find a public company, right? So, we have all these different folders. You can just you can come here and look at company research, right? And when I can, I try to provide subtle hints on where to find the information within these clunky databases, right? So here, for company information, I have these red arrows pointing to the spot where you select once you enter the database, right? So you can search just for company information right there. Merging online, I'll talk about that in a second. We used to do this as one of the databases everyone would work on in class, and every year it shut down and freeze up, and the reason I have no hair is because Virgin would crash. So I won't do that this year, but I will talk about it a little bit. $1 million database, okay? So now if you look here, Business Source Complete, you can find both public and private companies, okay? In Mergent, you can only find public companies, only publics. Anyone here from Europe? Anyone? All right. So in the United States, well, in Europe, I'll give you an example, private companies are treated a lot like public companies. So you can go to the Corporation Commission in Estonia, France, Belgium, England, and for a couple of euros, you can buy a private company's financials and pull them up from that commission, and you can see how much they're spending in particular areas, right? In the United States, you can't do that. Private companies are private. So if they don't take a loan out, if they don't use company credit cards, it can be very difficult to find any information. My buddy owns a manufacturing company back in Michigan, and his dad started it, now he's running it, and up until about 5 years ago, they had never taken a loan out. And so when you would go to some of these private company information databases, you couldn't find anything on them. You couldn't find estimated revenues and things like that. Well, once they bought this fancy, machine, they borrowed money to buy it. Then all of a sudden, estimates of their revenues started to pop up in some of these databases. So as you can see here, 1702 Pizza and Beer is not a publicly traded company, right? But you can find their information here. They do give an estimate on how much revenue they pull in each year, how many people work for them, stuff like that. Okay, Reference USA, quite creepy. You can look people up in this because it has a consumer database, and you can see how much, their money they're making, what their house values were, different things like that. So it's a little weird, but there's also a lot of business information, okay? Privco, once a company gets funded, you can find information on said company here. So whether it's angel investing, VC funding, something like that, you can find it. If you don't know what VC funding or angel investing is, you can select their knowledge bank, and go in there and they have a nice little definition for you. If you're looking for people to invest in you, you can go in there and pull a list of, depending on what stage of investment you're at, you can pull different investors and see how much they're investing. You can look up Ashton Kutcher. Is it Kutcher? How do you pronounce his name? What? Kutcher. What? Yeah. He's a big investor in startups. You can pull up, if you just search by him, you can find all the companies he's invested in. All right? So if that's not exciting, I don't know what is. So that's a company, right? If we go back, we're back. I just clicked on the business research. Here's industry research. Okay, and so IBIS World is one of the most popular. I'm going to pop it up right now real quick. The one thing I want to show you is sometimes if you do, I'm just going to do pork. For the heck of it, I don't know what pork will pull up. But I search for pork, and right now we have these industry reports from Canada and China. Okay, I don't know why we have them. We're not supposed to. We haven't paid for them, but they're there. So if you find anything interesting, download it and save it now, because it could go away any day, all right? But what we do have are these U.S. industry reports, which are pretty cool. So bacon production, you can pull a report on bacon production. So that's the other thing. With all these reports, these are $1,000 a piece on the open market, okay? If you go down, Mintel is very expensive. I don't know what they are. I've never looked at them. WGSN, Fashion Trend and Forecasting, right? BizMiner. These reports are about $100 a piece, right? But a lot of times you need 3 or 4 of them. That's how they get it. BCC Research. These can run up to 10 grand a report. Frost and Sullivan, same thing, up to 10 grand a report. Actually 25 grand a report. The one thing I'll tell you though, these are for academic use, right? So we have special licensing. So what does that mean? You can use them for your class. If you have a consulting project with a class, you can use them to help that company out, right? Now, if you're downloading bunches of reports and just giving it to the company, you could get in trouble, right? So we don't want to do that. If you are in the McGuire Center and you're using it for all the pitch competitions, great. But if you're actually going to go up and get, some funding, you're going to publish stuff to a slide deck online, and you've incorporated, well, then you have better paid for it, because they'll eventually hunt you down, find you, and probably charge you triple. Okay? So that's the thing you want to keep in mind. If you're working for another company, I officially don't work for the CIA, but so I'm not tracking you or the NSA. But if you're working for a company, don't send it to everyone in the company, right? If you use it for your company, who's the wiser? I don't know. But if you send it to everyone, you're going to get in trouble. So I don't want you to get in trouble. This is for academic use only. Once you incorporate or do something like that, you could conceivably get in trouble. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but why pay a $20,000 fine if you don't have it? Okay? But we have lots of other databases here. Take a look around. We try to, some of you will be working for nonprofits, right? GuideStar is a great place to look. Nonprofits use this thing called a 990 form. They must report it to the government, and you can download all their financials. I was working with one of my coworkers, and we pulled up a charter school, and we saw that the charter school was going broke, but still paying the principal, the people that own it, like 150 grand a year. So she decided not to send her children there, right? That's the type of thing you can find there. All right, is there anything else? I think that's it for now. Let's go on and have, click on the class fun right here, all right? Now when this comes up, this is a fun little quiz. Oh, I almost forgot, I'm so sorry. At 4:30 today, the good news is you have this, you're going to get to learn in the next few days and over the weekend. That's the good news. The bad news, it's an assignment that's due actually on Sunday, because Monday's MLK Day and we want everyone to have that off. We're going to make it due at 5 on Sunday. Yes. at 5 o'clock on Sunday, all right? So right now, you can't see this, but at 4:30 today, this is gonna pop open. You should take 4 tutorials, all right? Let me just show you what the NASIX tutorial will look like. It's got this, it's gonna open up the census database, and you're gonna kind of go through and have to answer questions. At the end of this tutorial, there's going to be a link that says, well, not on the NASIX. Now I'm just being confusing. The NASIX is the one that doesn't. But the other 3, at the end of the tutorial, it has a link that says quiz. You must take said quiz and pass it with 80% or higher. If the first time you take it, you get below 80%, right? We, of course, will publish it to our Facebook pages. But after we do that, you can take it again. No, you can just take it as many times as you want. My goal is, these are not killer assignments. You should work through it. If you do the guide of the tutorial, the quiz won't be a big deal for you. You're all very smart, right? And it will help you on your research, make your life easier later in the semester, okay?
Very quickly too, you will earn points for that in your business communication class, so it is required for you to do those quizzes, okay?
Yes, you get points in your business communication classes. So, but if you look here, the quiz will cover both the NASIX and the IDESWORLD. So the quiz for NASIX is here, okay? Is everyone excited? All right. So let's go back to this. We've clicked on the class fund here, right? So let's leave this open. Now let's go down, and we're going to be working with Business Source Complete. Business Source Complete is the most heavily used database for business folks. So if we go into company, and it's actually in all 3, maybe even this one, all 4 of these folders. We'll go into the company research, and we'll select this. And here is Business Source Complete, right? It's a good general database. The one thing you want to take a look at as you work through it, and let me just show you some different, a real quick trick. And as we said, when I'm in Google, right, I can put a complete sentence in. Our databases, you can't do that. Our databases aren't that smart. So what you have to do is you have to brand your search. So if you choose your public company as Google, and you want to know how they do, I don't know, their strategic planning. What is the strategic planning for Google, right? You have to simplify that. Simplify, it's a tough word. So what you do is you don't put the question in there, what is the strategic planning process for Google? How can we simplify it? How could we brand that search? Any thoughts? Well, most importantly is Google, right? You're interested in Google? So we do Google. And then we just do strategic, S-T-R-A-T-E-G-I-C. Yes. Yes, so, and that's Google's fault too. They may be a bad speller because they correct everything. So here we just do Google and strategic planning, okay? I misspelled strategic. There we go. See? There we go. And there's only 90,000 documents here, right? So there's a lot of strategic planning in Google. And if we look around, you can see that there's all these resources, different ways to limit it. So here by thesaurus term, if we select that, the database is asking you, by strategic planning, do you mean business planning? Do you mean management? Do you mean marketing strategy? If you look over here, it tells you how many articles have been tagged with that term in the database that are related, in this case, to Google, okay? If you go here, if you're really interested just in, a particular geography. So how do they strategic plan around China? You select China, and it will limit those articles. So here. So it limits those articles to China. And let's make sure it hasn't done anything goofy. Whoops, it left off Google. We gotta watch that database. There we go. So it's limited it to 249, right? And now, it's done it again. Now if we do China, there we go. See, I have to stop and pay attention to my search interface too. These are 3 articles around strategic planning, Google, and China, okay? If I'm not that interested in China, I can come over here. This is what I call my breadcrumbs area, okay? And I can see where I've been, right? And so if I remove China, it opens it back up, and here's 249 articles. Okay? Is that pretty clear? Everyone's excited? All right, let's do one together. All right? So one of the things, if you're ever starting a new search, it's helpful just to click on the new search button. And if you're following along at home, here's Goldman Sachs. And we're going to search Goldman Sachs. And so, because I'm lazy, I'm just going to do it here. I hit search. And here you see only 23,000 articles. And it says on our thing to limit to scholarly or peer-reviewed. Does everyone know what a peer-reviewed or scholarly article is? Anyone? Peer-reviewed, scholarly, you're all good on that? Or just don't want, okay. So the newspaper, right, very relevant, very quick, but it's written by professional journalists, it's edited by professional editors. They're not necessarily, if they write about social media, experts in social media. But if you get published in a peer-reviewed journal, you are considered, the author is considered an expert in social media, let's pretend, right? And then once, what does peer review mean? It means other experts in the field read the article and ask questions like, is the data good? Did they hurt anyone in their research? Do their conclusions make sense based on their data? And if they say yes, then they get published, right? And so things like the International Journal of Operations Management, that is a peer-reviewed journal, right? And so the cool thing about that is it's very thorough and the information is very good. The downside is if you want to read about Barack Obama's social media strategy in the 2012 election, you're going to have to wait 6 months to a year before you read a peer-reviewed article about it. But if you want something the next day, you can find a newspaper article on it. So you can see relevancy of information. The most relevant will be newspapers, but the information will probably be not as good. All right, everyone thrilled? So if I limit it to scholarly or peer-reviewed, I come here, see how I did that? I clicked on that little thing, it says update, Goldman Sachs, 570, I'm going to put that one in there. Now it's asking me to remove the peer-reviewed. I remove the peer-reviewed. I think I've talked too much today. And let me see here, how many market research reports are available? Can anyone see where you might find the market research, how many market research reports there are? So under source type, right? Here, market research reports, there's 303 market research reports, right? That's outstanding. Trade publications are a good tool, especially if you're going to interview with a company, right? Because you want to be prepared. Trade publications are written by people from the industry, generally, or people in said industry. So when I worked in die casting, right, we had a die casting magazine. And in the die casting magazine, it had articles that were relevant to us about where, trends that the industry saw coming. It also gave like gossip, like who moved to what die casting firm, who got promoted, who suddenly disappeared, right? So all this is good information. But market research reports, pretty cool. All right, so we know it's 303, so we hit that. Now for the next part, the company information tab, okay? We want to find the company information tab. Everyone see that? Right? If you look back here, I have it kind of highlighted. All right, here we are. Now this is pretty cool. I like this. Well, first, probably because I'm a librarian and we're in, you know, obviously we're into this, right? But the other reason I like it makes my life easier. So if I'm looking for Goldman Sachs, right, I hit search. And there it is, Goldman Sachs. You can tell it's a public company because it's got the ticker symbol there, right, GS. It's the parent public. Here we are. The nice thing about it is everything in this database around Goldman Sachs is kind of located under related information. So if you want a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, you can go there. If you want product reviews, right? If you want industry profiles, if you want books about Goldman Sachs, you can go there. Look at this, their revenue. A mere $34 billion last year. You know, not bad, right? They only made $6 billion. It was rough. You can look at what industry they're in. Okay, so here they're in this thing called securities brokerage, NAICS code, North American Industrial Classification System. Anyone here ever hear of the census in the Constitution? Happens every 10 years, right? There's also this thing called the economic census. And that's how whenever you hear about how many, you know, well, that's the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But the economic census keeps track of data year over year. And sometimes, usually in 1, 3, and 5 year increments, okay? And the way they divide up all the industries is by using the NAICS code. So it can be, the NAICS code can be anywhere from 2 to 6 digits. 2, 33 is manufacturing. 33, 566 might be manufacturing widgets for aerospace. So the more numbers you get, the more specific the industry will be, okay? Now, this takes a long time to change, so if you were to look for an iPad industry, I don't think there's an iPad industry, right? And for a while, the computers were lumped into something funny, right? Way back in the day before we, you know, when computers were new. And we walked uphill both ways. So, other things, you have subsidiaries. You can see everything they've owned, right? So this little company is struggling. Right over here, newspaper articles, more things like that. Let's answer the next question. We know it's securities brokerage. We hit this next button, it's green. Now, all of you, answer a couple questions on your own. I noticed you two are sitting by each other. You'll get different questions. I randomized the questions. Let's say you get done quickly, right? He's struggling, you're allowed to help him. Lean over and help him get through the questions. Work together if you need to, okay? I'll give you about 5 minutes. I think it's a total of 3 questions. Have fun, go forth, pick some butt. And we'll talk about 2 more things. All right, ready, set, go.
Explain it to everybody. Jump on discussion, ask one of your members. Maybe then explain to your
go back up? Can I stop it? Business research. Yeah, I know. We're in class for it. This will give you the questions. Just skip this and do this together. The next one. Go down again. There are lots of things. All my all right, so now if you do a new search for this company,
I can blame my wife. Refresh it.
all right.
All right, we're gonna probably move on here. There's one other one I just want to show you, and that's Mergent Online. And what happens is we used to show it in class to get you familiar with it, but then it would explode and weird things would happen and the internet would shut down and, you know, NASDAQ would crash, other weird things like that. So, I'm going to show this to you. You're going to take the tutorial after class and do this on your own, okay? But for now, I'm just going to show it to you. And I'm also going to do this to show what a pain it can be here and there, okay? So, you know, my obsession with Google, I'm going to continue with that. And if I do Google, why isn't Google coming up? Any guesses? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Why would Google come up? They changed their name to Alphabet. Why? They're goofy. I don't know. So they're Alphabet. But somewhere, a consultant got paid a lot of money for this new name. So let's respect that. So here's Alphabet. Now we can go here and we can see all sorts of fun information. Remember we talked about the NAICS code? It gives the NAICS code here. The number of shareholders, cool information, isn't it? Their revenue, they're only double Goldman Sachs. Their net income, they're doing okay. Who their auditor is, right? All sorts of fun information. You can come here, look at their stock valuation. Here's some company news, real brief. It's not meant to be like all-encompassing, but if you just want a quick article to read, if you want to see what's going on their key financials, let's look at Nikesh or Arora. So if I come over here, he's the Senior Vice President and Chief Business Officer of Google, right? So here's some background. Oh, I went to Boston University. He went as an undergrad. He went to Boston College. So, I don't know. But looks like he went to Northeastern. And so you can find some information. You think, wow, he only made 650 grand. That poor person. So, but if I click on that here, there's his picture. And yes, he only made 650 grand. He had a small bonus of 3.5 million. Some stock awards. His total compensation was around $6 million. So don't feel too bad for him. All right. By the way, that's basically a starting salary for a librarian. There we go. Oh, look at this though. That was a bad year. Look at 2012. $51 million. Whoa. Amazing. I'm going to start a company like Google now. The other thing, competitors. You can come here, find competitors, right? Now, take this with a grain of salt. This is all done machine learning, right? And so you have to take a look around, make sure, is that really a competitor, yes or no? Right? And you can get the financials. If I add all to my list, right? I can pop open my company analysis list, right? I can do a comparison report. If I want, I'm just going to I just want to see how much they're doing in advertising, and I can create my report. Oops, forgot the format. I'll do Excel. Back in the old days, you had to do this by hand.
Charcoal and a slate by the fireplace?
Yes. After walking uphill both ways. So here, there's not a lot of advertising discussed here. Obviously, that's incorrect. You could pull up different financials and different things like that, okay? Usually it works. But of course, I'm standing here in front of you, it doesn't. You can go into more company information. And I think that's pretty exciting. If you go back to search, the other thing you can do is if you know the NAICS code, you can pull up every company on that NAICS code that's publicly traded. All right? Now, if you've gone through the survey, all right, you've come to the stop sign. If you move on, we're not going to do the IBIS World one, but I just want to show it to you. So IBIS World is in industry research. Oh, it's already open. But I'll go there again. And if we go here, we can search for Goldman Sachs. Now you can search by a brand, you can search by industry, or you can search by company. The key is the company has to, I think, have like more than 5% market share or brand for it to be mentioned in these reports as a rule. That's a soft estimate. Sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's higher. Here we are. Let's look at what they have to say about investment banking, right? If you're like me, you like pretty pictures. IBIS World has lots of pretty pictures, okay? This is the Porter's 5 forces, right? Here's the industry. Here are the outside forces that affect the competition within the industry, all right? So that's pretty nice. We come here to industry at a glance. Here we have how much money the industry's made. Here's a quick quiz for you. You like pretty charts and graphs. Do you think your professor or your investors will like them too? Let's pretend. Love them. See? They love them. If you come here and you think, that's a nice little chart. Can I copy and paste that to my report? Yes or no?
Yes, but with sources.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Woo!
That's why she's in the front row.
Yeah. She's done for the semester, A. So there we go. You can copy and paste this, right? Whoops. How come it let me do it before? Let's pretend I copied. There we go. Copy image, right? But the key thing is, see this right here? That right there, source, ibisworld.com, right? Keep that as part of your visual. There's 2 reasons. 1, you can't steal. If you don't cite it, you're stealing it. That's bad. Remember your mother said stealing is bad? Do you want to make your mother upset? No. So, cite it. The other thing, if you're pitching to an investor and you throw some numbers up there, they're going to want to know where you got the numbers from. Did you get it from Crazy Bob's website of made-up internet stuff? Then that would be bad. The investor will not invest in you. But if they see a credible resource like IBIS World, BCC, Frost and Sullivan, right? It's going to add validity to your numbers. They still might disagree with it, right? Because that's what they do, right? They're beating you up to get your price net, right? According to Shark Tank. And Shark Tank is 100% true, isn't it? So, but whatever. But, use this. It adds validity to your research, okay? Let me hit the minus button. So, we're gonna come back here, take a look around. We spent, quite a bit of information, we have quite a bit of information that we can help you out with. Advertising has some great resources. There's some resources in here on consumer data where you can see what consumer profile you are. After I get done doing research on myself, I always feel a little less original, So no matter what the advertisers tell you, there's a demographic out there and you're in one of them and they've kind of got you. But the most important thing, if you're stuck, what do? Ask a librarian. And remember, don't be intimidated by our super high intelligence or good looks. We're almost like you. After you finish the semester, you'll be like us. Really smart and good looking. But contact us, email us, give us a due date. We're here to help. We don't want you to suffer. All right? Well, we want you to suffer. They want you to suffer. I do not. Every once in a while you hear a cackle on campus. This like screeching cackle. And it's usually when they've come up with a new assignment to torture you. But you can hear it, and it's true. So I wish you all good luck this semester. Enjoy, and ask the library. Thank you.
Okay, a lot to take in, I know. The last bit of time here, the next 45 minutes, you're going to be hearing from your